Hi, everyone. We're live. We're on time. And of course, the first question, as always, some of you already joked about it in the chat. It's, can you hear me? I'm really excited. I hope you can hear me because I'm really excited for what we're going to talk about tonight. If you saw the video that was posted today, it was for Wonder Woman and the era of Wonder Woman that was Wonder Tot, Wonder Girl, and Wonder Woman and Wonder Queen, as Hippolyta was called, all doing things at the exact same time. But in the process of going through those stories, I read so much questionable romance, and there was no time to talk about it in that video because it would just derailed it. But there was one particular one for Manno and Steve that was so amazing, and I wanted to talk about it. And I know that it's February, so should do like a romantic thing, but no, let's go through a hot mess. I don't feel like I want it to be its own video, but I feel like this is good too. This is I'm going to share the screen. We're going to go through it. We're going to get to experience the madness together because this story, if I were to do just a plain video on it, it would be one of those like hour-long retrospectives on an issue that nobody cares about but me. So and it's too fun for that. It deserves so much attention. So I have it pulled up. I'm gonna share the screen and all of that stuff. I actually have 3 screens going because I have notes, I have the screen to share, I have the chat, all kinds of things. So we'll see how this goes or how discombobulated or not that it is. So we shall see. Alrighty. Of course, I have my questions, which is how is everyone tonight? That's always an important question. So I hope that you're all doing well and you've all had a good weekend and all of those things. So let me go to the screen sharing because let's do it. Can I do it? Am I ready? Am I proficient in the technology? I am. Haha. Can I make it bigger? Bigger. That's what the people want. The people want it bigger. Oh, also, this is going to double as the Kindle experience because ever since Comixology was rolled into Amazon, all of that, you're going to get to experience the reader. So it's a bit better than it was at. Is somebody say is it the Super Bowl? What? I don't even know that when that's happening. But don't worry, I'll leave it up for anybody who wants to finish that. I know that that's a big deal. So what we have here is Wonder Woman 125. And I'm gonna zoom it up a little bit so that yes, it is a Ross Andrew cover. Good eye, Brad Parnell. So we're gonna pull this up. Yeah, we're gonna make it bigger in beginning. And this is Amoeba Man. And over here we have Steve Trevor and then Manno the Merman, aka Steve Trevor from Wish, because they have pretty much exactly the same face. And it's amusing. I zoomed it up so you can see the placement of Amoeba Man's hands. And you see, that's the thing with this. If you click on it, then it moves you around. It's a bit rough using Kindle, but it's okay. We'll make it work. So we have Amoeba Man with his hands where they shouldn't be. And then we have this wonderful caption in the most startling contest of all time, Merman, Colonel Steve Trevor and an alien from outer space compete for Wonder Woman battle prize. For she is a prize to be won. When we get into it, you'll see that Diana is both incredibly not interested in them, but it feels like she has to be for the plot to happen. So it's a disaster, and I love it. But you're also going to see that Manno and Steve are obsessed with each other almost more so than her, and that makes it a hilarious read so much. Thank you very much, Therese. I feel like Diana gets treated really weirdly in this era because patriarchy. She gets treated oddly in this era for a lot of reasons, and one of them is that the quest for sales is a big part, and casting around also to try and find what's working for other books. And part of that is trying to pull in things like, well, Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane, or like other romance things, and seeing if that can work. It doesn't work for Diana. She doesn't have the same energy as a Lois, and you will see. So we go in to our opening, and yeah, they're fighting there, but we'll zoom in. We'll leave the teaser page because what we need are these pages up here of Manno and Steve just obsessing with each other, but through the guise of, I guess it's about Wonder Woman, in the seas near Paradise Island, secret home of the Amazons, but not that secret because everybody in these stories knows about it. Merman sighs. Colonel Steve Trevor is my only rival for my darling Wonder Woman's affections. I have to prove myself worthier in her eyes somehow. And just the way he's riding this dolphin, this panel is great. While Steve, testing a new experimental plane, is thinking about Manno, but he's not even in a thought bubble or anything. His head's just hovering around. His head's not in the thought bubble. Why is it not in the thought bubble? It's like he's watching him, like he's stalking him. Merman is my only rival for Wonder Woman's love, except he's not, because the cover and the teaser told us. There must be some way I can show her I'm the only one for her. I also love this era before we have Wingo, the Birdman, and then all of a sudden he just appears and it's like, Wingo was always there. What are you talking about? It was always multiple rivals, except for the points in the story when it wasn't. Now, what happens next is amazing because Steve's plane just starts plummeting for no reason out of the sky, and Wonder Woman happens to be there, thank goodness. And she saves him because, you know, she's a good person. But of course, Steve is gonna find a way to twist this and make it super weird. Super duper weird. Darling, it's lucky you love me, or your heart couldn't have told you I was in such a jam. I love it because it's Lois Lane logic. This is the kind of logic that she had when she jumped off of a cliff and tried to get Superman to save her. That's what we're dealing with. But of course, this just happened because she was there, which she is quick to tell him, like, I don't mean to disappoint you, Steve, but to be entirely truthful, it was my hearing attracted by the sound of your exploding plane. This has nothing to do with our love or lack thereof. All of these stories, like you saw in When Wonder Woman Married a Monster, normal things will happen and the characters will be like, that proves that you love me. The fact that you didn't let me die a fiery death, that's what true love is. Oh. But of course, this is where it gets, because he turns around and he makes this about Merman, even though it's not. I suppose if Merman were in trouble, your heart would take you right to him as if it were right. Like, nobody was talking about Merman. This had nothing to do with him. It's entirely Steve making it uncomfortable and awkward. She just saved his life. It's like, oh, I bet you would have saved Merman's life. I bet you have a secret connection with Merman who I'm thinking about, but you're not. Stop sulking, Steve. Merman and I are very good friends. After all, we've known each other since childhood, which means nothing. You don't have to be friends with people you've known since childhood. Oh, we've known each other a lot of years. That means automatically that we're very good friends. Oh. We have this redundant section after, which is pretty great, where she turns back into Diana Prince because she's supposed to do something in her office, but she has to change right back right after. And meanwhile, we have Steve, who's still up here in this corner, obsessing about Merman. How can I prove I'm better for Wonder Woman than Merman unless I can compete against him? But how can I compete against him unless I can figure out some way of reaching him? I'll go into Di's office and get Wonder Woman to agree to the contest. So the best thing about this is that he's not even interacting with Manno at this point. He needs to find some way to go and fight him. For that is the only way he will prove he is better, or, you know, by calming down and just being an actual nice person. But no, he needs to fight Manno. That's what's going to solve this. It's already entirely off the rails. Yes. Michael Brown says Steve is giving off Lois vibes. 100%. And it's hilarious, but it's also not equal or balanced like it is in the Lois Lane stories. Because in the Lois Lane stories, you have Lois and Superman playing off of each other with their manipulations. And here it's just it's just Steve. It's just Steve by himself. And you see up here, she's saying Merman and Steve are getting unmanageable lately. I don't know what to do. She's not into it. But then the story later on is gonna be like, yeah, she's into it. This is what the ladies like. Constant unhinged harassment. I've gotta find which is the great one where he just screams at her for no, yeah, it's at the bottom here. It's at the bottom here. I don't know why she changed into Diana like for even 2 seconds because she really didn't need to. Manno in the hands of fate. I like to think that this is a bit more fast paced than Manno's in the hands of fate. Diana not in? Good. Then we can talk privately. Angel, you've got to take me to Merman so I can meet him face to face, and you can decide who is the better man for you. Please don't make a contest of our affection for each other, Steve. Please. I don't know about you, but I don't have any affection for that fish-tailed merman. It's a disaster. It's such a disaster. At this point, she should just stop talking to him, which she kind of tries to, in all honesty, because she doesn't really. I forgot. She gets a call. She gets a call because Manno is harassing the ladies of Paradise Island by singing a song about how much he wishes to see Wonder Woman, and it says making these other Amazons cry. But so she decides, her mom's like, please come back because your suitors are just ruining the vibes of our island. So she tries to, and then Steve jumps off the roof onto her plane, and her plane's supposed to be invisible. So he's just guessing, he's gauging, like he's probably going to land on it because this way I can't help it if the only way I can meet Merman is for you to take me to him. At this point, it's not about her anymore. It stopped being about her a while ago. This is about him and Merman. Oh, she should just, she saved him earlier, but maybe he just misjudged that jump. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have seen. Oh, gosh. The only way you can make me get off is to throw me off. I'm staying until Merman and I compete for your hand and one of us wins. Steve's melting my heart with his pleading. I'll have to consent. Let's fix that line. I'm going to throw you off the side of the plane, Steve. But you see here what I mean? This already is not lining up with her first thoughts, which is like, oh my God, they're out of control. They're driving me crazy. Now it's, oh, I feel some kind of feelings for this madman who jumped on my plane and nearly ended himself so he could compete with this man who only he is competing with. It's amazing. It's amazing. I was so sad that there wasn't room to talk more about this inside of the Wonder Top video, but there isn't because they're not in this, because this is just about something else entirely. Up here are some of the panels I posted about how they're just arguing about what she'll eat if she ends up with either of them, which makes me laugh because Steve says she'll be eating fish, but he says she'll be eating dust. I don't know. They're not even making sense anymore. At this point, they're not even making sense. So they decide they're going to challenge each other, and the challenge is very special. I love the challenge. Ignore this. These are some of the side stuff that they reprinted, but they didn't reprint all of the things from these issues, which always makes me sad. I know I went on a rant in that video about reprints having everything. I'm very passionate about reprints having all of the parts so you can properly experience as best you can because the coloring is different. Although this is one of the better digitized recolorings out there for sure. We're still in unhinged territory, which is Manno just grabs Wonder Woman and says he's going to show her who the best man is for her underwater. And Steve just follows them, even though it will drown him, but he doesn't care. He thinks he tricked me, but I won't give up. I'll drown myself. That'll show her how much I love her. The contest consists entirely of them trying to prove to her that they're the best in their domain, which really, of course, obviously Manno's the better merman and Steve's the better human because they're like, "Look, I'm better in the water. That's why you can't be with." It's not lining up. And again, they picked contests that they specifically can win, but it doesn't prove anything. Oh wow, I can't believe that a non-merman would lose this merman contest. What a shock. Oh. You could never be happy with a husband who couldn't last an hour underwater. Has Wonder Woman ever expressed a deep love for being underwater? How long does she spend underwater? Why is this a factor? It makes no sense. It just makes no sense. This entire contest makes no sense. Thank you very much, Ozzy Dragoon. It is appreciated so that we can continue on with the madness. Oh, goodness. We'll zoom out so you can see all this. The art is nice. That's the thing with this era. At least I think it's nice. I enjoy Ross Andrews' art and Mike Esposito's inks on like together. I think they work really nicely, and I think the looks of these stories are really enjoyable. The content sometimes for the wrong reasons. This is it's like honestly, does this feel like a Wonder Woman story? And of course, we have the benefit of coming at it from an era where there's many, many more stories, but it seems like this felt odd even for the time period. Ah, thank you very much, Stress. In my opinion, Steve can be great, but patriarchy hurts Ben too. Like he and Manno only know how to relate to her like this. It's not even about her at this point. It isn't. Well, it's speaking of macho he-manness or he-mermanness in this case. You see, Manno lassos this swordfish because Steve could never do that. He could never lasso a swordfish. And for some reason, this is shown to be working. Merman's daring makes my heart beat faster because the script says that it should. There's nothing in these stories that makes it seem like Diana likes either of them, which makes them really funny. She's constantly saving them, but that's just because she doesn't want them to die in front of her because she's a hero. She's doing hero things. Like up here, when she saves Steve from drowning because he had no plan, I guess, except to maybe die in front of her because that tends to work for him. And she saves him, which is really, he just wanted a kiss. This was his way of kind of sneaking a kiss because, getting mouth to mouth resuscitation, I guess, is kind of the same as getting a kiss in story logic. Look at this panel. It's not intentional, but this is very Disney Little Mermaid, the way she's leaning over him like that. She's about to start singing to him. These panels here, this is why I love Manno so much because he just hops on land. He regularly hops onto the land and awkwardly does this. It looks so painful. It looks like this would hurt his tail so much. This hop thing that they do. Hobbling onto land. See, hobbling. Hobbling implies that it's painful. That's enough of that, Earthman. You're also from Earth. I didn't notice that the first few times I read that. You're also from Earth. The sea is part of Earth. I proved you couldn't take care of Wonder Woman underwater. I'm the better man-fish for her. You might as well go home now. By this time, Steve is recovered enough to Wonder Woman can't stay underwater all her life. I'll show her I'm the better man on land, Merman. And he grabs her and starts, look at him hopping after them. This is a nonsense contest. Of course he's the better man on land. Oh, what are they fighting over? Oh, she could honestly be replaced by a cardboard cutout for all they care about what she thinks or feels. She should do that. She should just get one of those projector things her mom has and use that. And then she can... Didn't she leave work for this? She can go back to work and finish whatever she was trying to do as Diana Prince before Steve barged in and demanded that she take him to Merman. Manno also was interrupting her workday, actually, with his singing, his obnoxious singing that was bothering the other Amazons. Therese, thank you very much. I def like Andrew's art better than Peter's. The lines are much cleaner and the faces are much more expressive. They definitely have very distinct art styles. Peter's art really grew on me over time. I think it's because looking back at it in hindsight, it feels very stylized because now having seen all the different art styles out there. It's Manno hopping. Look at him hop. Look at the crazed hopping. I've got to zoom up because Kindle hates when I do that. But if that Earth man, again, you're both from Earth, thinks he's tricked me, he's going to find out he's missed. Look at the hops. Hop, hop, hop. What do you think his hop sounds like? I bet it sounds like a thud or a crack as his fins break. Ah! It's not, amazingly, this is the better reading experience from how it used to be when they first brought it in. They didn't have the zoom function. You couldn't optimize it. They still don't have quite the same panel by panel reading experience that you used to get on original Comixology, but it's better. It's a lot better. So anyway, a gorilla shows up. A wild gorilla appears because it's Silver Age DC Comics. So of course there's a gorilla. And Steve bests it on land to prove he's the best Earthman on land with his judo. Yes, he takes out this gorilla with some judo. Merman could never fight a wild animal with judo. Could he not? Does Manno know judo? Has he asked? I don't know what martial arts Manno does know or does not know. Also, again, this is impressing Diana for some reason. No, Tyler, this gorilla does not talk, unfortunately. We don't get that, unfortunately. Sure, why not? It's that kind of story. But of course, the thing with the stories of this era, which I briefly touched on in the Wonder Tot, Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman video, is that they're very repetitive. So you'll have this story take up the entire issue instead of having a backup or something else, but you'll just have the same plot beats happen over and over again. So of course, because Steve nearly died underwater, we're going to have the same thing happen to Manno so that we end up in the same place so that they're still in this kind of status quo of neither one of them being the better man, even though they're both awful. They're both equally awful. They're winning, actually, in that department. At least for Steve's, it kind of made sense in that he was drowning because he was out of his domain. Merman is also out of his domain, even though he can just hop around and breathe for reasons. So they need to find some other way to get him out of the way, and that is by having him be picked up by a giant winged beast that just swoops in. That happens a lot in these stories, like the surprise Sphinx from Wonder Woman Marries a Monster. It'll just happen. They'll just be, oh, now there's a giant winged creature, and so she saves him. Because of course she does. And then we try to lend some credence to this contest, and it doesn't work. It's true, Merman's the better man underwater, but Steve's the better man on land. How can I choose between... Look at Steve's face. Even he thinks this is ridiculous. He's like, just pick one of us. Come on. For some reason, these stories have no other options, to which I say no. Pick neither. Don't save yourself. Save yourself and go back to Paradise Island. Steve in this era is such a disaster. Run. Oh. So, oh. All right. So this is another issue because this happens a lot where there are a couple of panels missing and it's really unfortunate. And again, I think it's supposed to be for continuity. I know some people say it's a mistake, but I have a hard time believing it because lots of times it's little errors like this. So what should be here, because I've read the original one of this, what should be here is this knight comes, I'm tapping the screen like you can see me tapping it. This knight comes in on opening panel in a flying saucer. He swoops down in a flying saucer, and you can see that panel is missing because you'll notice that Manno talks about it here. He says, "What's a knight from medieval times doing in a spaceship?" Which is very what does God need with a starship. But yeah, so there was a panel. It's supposed to be over here. It's not, because why would we want accurate digital? Why would we want that? Nobody wants that. They don't need to be accurate. We can just erase things and have incomplete texts for no reason, even though we have the technology to save things better than ever. Why would, it bothers me. It bothers me. Anyway, imagine that there is a panel that should be there of him coming out of a spaceship. And it's pretty great. And Because what it sets up right away is that obviously this man is an alien. He came out of a stereotypical circular UFO, and it's obvious right there. But for some reason, Diana doesn't take any note of that. Maybe it's gone because they don't want to make her look less than stellar, because she's just like, wow, a medieval knight. And he's so handsome. Oh, gosh, this bothers me. I can't even get over how much things missing like that bothers me. Because here's the thing. Some people go to digital or collect the omnis, or which are reprints often of the digital versions, because they want to have these stories and they want to have them like collected, and for them to not be accurate, it makes me really paranoid. This kind of thing is how you end up with one of those boards where you're scouring and looking for original scans and pirating and all kinds of stuff, because you're not sure if what you're getting is actually there. And then the thing is, people will go off of the reprints with missing panels and just go, it can create a whole trickle down effect. It's one of those things that doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it is the implications of it. Anyway, let's look at this handsome knight. Let's look at this handsome knight. He's so handsome, like Sir Galahad. She mentions that in the saucer panels that aren't here. So they go on for a bit about how handsome he is, even though I'm pretty sure he also has Steve's face. But exactly, Kit. That knight's like Predator, except hands. Is the Predator not handsome? We don't know what the standards are for that race. Maybe the Predator's incredibly handsome. Aphrodite, help me. Never before has my heart thundered so. I think I'm falling head over heels in love with him. Or it could be the head injury from the bird pterodactyl thing that attacked them in the last panel. But of course, this is ruining Manno and Steve's vibes. They had a thing going, and now he's ruining their thing. For the first time, Steve, Trevor, and Merman find themselves united as they face a new rival. And it's not Birdman. They never worry about Birdman. Who does he think he is? To come galloping out of nowhere and sweep her off her feet. At least Manno has real questions, like what's a knight doing in a spaceship? Maybe he's a magician. You see, he ruined it. He's an alien knight magician. I would read that. I would read that. Maybe he bewitched her. You've got feet. Get over there. I love that line so much. You've got feet. Get over there. It's going to take you too long to hop over there. Use your Earthman legs and do something. Was the Earthman lines foreshadowing? Well, I mean, he tried to use his legs. He sure tried. But she's off flying with everything. Why? Use your legs. You've got feet. You see, they're coming together. It's all coming together for Manno and Steve. Okay, so now we do get to see the saucer, even though it should have been there. But at least it's here now. It's here now, and we get to look at it and acknowledge that, look, it's completely stereotypical. There's no reason. She calls him Sir Galahad here, for the Arthurian vibes. The Arthurian vibes with the spacecraft. This is ancient aliens now. You lived centuries ago, knight, so that craft must be a time machine, enabling you to travel into the future. And then he uses some, suave lines, allegedly. You are as intelligent as you are beautiful, my fair lady. We will travel on it to my castle, where we will be wed. See, this could have been a marriage issue. That was low-key a proposal. It was there. In what world do you see this and think time machine? Or why would you want to go back to medieval times, Diana? Why? You have a whole life heroing all of this, but he is handsome, though. Are we going to do that logically? What was that movie with Hugh Jackman where she was contemplating going back because he was so hot? The movie where he advertises butter. Help me. Was that Kate and Leopold? Was that what that movie was? It was one of those ones I saw when I was younger, and now I think I'm blocking it from my mind. Alexander F. Wait, he never introduced himself. It's true. She just gave him a name. Yeah, she did. Yes, she did. She could have named him anything. But you see, that's why he had to come with the whole ensemble to try and give himself a cool name. Oh, it was Kate and Leopold. I'm right. I still remember the ad. Rich creamery butter. It was a hot mess in a fun way. I like it. So she almost forgets the core rule here, which is that men can't set foot on the island. In this era, it's because if they do, they're going to lose all their powers, lose the island. Actually, in one of the Wonder taught stories, the island is being destroyed because a man set foot on it, but it was like a okay, so this story was, let me just quickly, let's pause this for a second. And so I can quickly tell you about this other story where it was that Hippolyta was lonely and she was missing a man that she had met. So she made a statue of him like out of clay and it came to life. And so Aphrodite and Athena were trying to destroy Paradise Island because of it. And so the man statue sacrificed himself. And the end solution was just that she was really lonely, but it's okay. She'll just deal with it. It was actually kind of depressing. It's actually really depressing now that I think about it. Oh. So, shock and awe, even though we saw the cover. This man is evil. He said zounds, so we know. Zounds. I almost accomplished the doom of the Amazons. But my time will surely come again. And then I'll strike. What villainy is this? Which threatens the Amazon? What villainy is this? Which threatens the Amazon? We will see. There we go. They zoomed up really intensely on his eyes there, so you know that it's serious. Oh man. So Hippolyta often has terrible advice for Wonder Woman in these stories because it's coming from a decent place, not for the right reasons. So she's upset with Diana, for nearly bringing a man onto the island and ruining their lives. But she says she shouldn't marry him, not just because he's some random guy who came out of a spaceship or time machine or whatever, but because here's what you're not ready. You're not ready. Let me do my Hippolyta voice. But what of Colonel Trevor and Merman, Diana? It isn't fair to them to make up your mind so quickly in favor of someone you only know for a few moments. Why don't you rejoin them with your knight? Nothing about how, like they're good or anything. No, just you knew them longer and this isn't fair. How is this fair to them? Think about Steve. He jumped onto your plane to come and fight Merman. Is this fair to them? No, it's not. You should go and have them all fight. which is what happens. They go back and Steve and Manno have just been plotting this entire time about how they're going to return their rivalry to the status quo so that she has to pick between the two of them because they don't accept this handsome knight and his nice flying horse. They're just here plotting. They didn't even leave. They're still just here. Oh, we've got to show Wonder Woman we're as good as or better or better. That's optional than that character in the tin suit. He may be an ace in the air, but maybe I can beat him on the ground. And if not, then I should be able to beat him in the water. You see, they're still trying the same contest. Like, we still need to prove that we're best in our domains. What if he wants to fight in the air? What are you going to do then? We've already seen by that air attack that neither of you are good in the air. That's why they got to keep it on the ground or in the sea. Angel, Merman and I competed with each other to prove who is the better man for you. She didn't care. Well, she kind of did, but only because the story needed her to, and not because anything to do with her character. Doesn't Diana feel a bit like a husk in this story that's just being filled in by like stereotypical romance lines? Like an AI was reading through Silver Age's romance and just applied the lines to her. They don't feel like she cares. She does not care. It's not fair for you to, it's not fair. Wham. Love needs to be fair for you to accept that walking antique without a contest. You know what? He looks nice. Like that's the one thing he's got going for. Oh. Okay. When did his helmet come off? Look at this. His helmet came off panel so that we can see his hair. Let's see his locks. Now she has to pick him. Look at that show off, kissing her hand. I knew there was something suspicious about him. He's being nice to her. He's not being rude and harassing her, or jumping off of buildings or stopping her from doing her job. What's wrong with him? We'll defeat him first, then ask questions afterward. Manno's a disaster. Shoot first and ask questions later. I know. He has different hair, so it's almost like he's a separate character. It hides the fact that he has the same face as the rest of them. His hair is pulling the work. So, of course, did you remember that Steve knows judo? How about playing a little four-handed judo? It's the one trick he's got. He wants to show off his judo. It hasn't impressed Wonder Woman to this point, but you know what? He's going to try again. Why not? It doesn't work, and he ends up clonking himself on the knight's armor. So I guess he's not the better man on land, which means it's time to go to the sea. Isn't he Nobody's wonderful here. Isn't he wonderful, Steve? Nobody is wonderful. You know, at least this knight, unnamed knight, who she dubbed Galahad, he's up for these quests. He's down for it, and he very quickly defeats Manno at his own game. Oh, why I'm laughing is it's this panel right here of it's Steve untying Manno. Just how they've been brought together by this new rival, even though I'm convinced it was never about Wonder Woman in the first place. How did the knight get his helmet back on so fast? I don't know. He's taken it on and off in between panels, and it's whiplash. It's giving whiplash. Look at his cape. It's not even wet. It's magical. That's how you know that something sus is going on. Well, he won, didn't he? And I guess that's what matters. See, what you can see here, though, is that's not what matters, because each one of them won their respective contests, but it didn't move her at all. But she's just down for the night. It wouldn't have mattered if he'd won or not, because he's handsome. And we know in these stories, that's what matters. Also, her lipstick keeps vanishing and reappearing depending on the panel, and it's distracting. Matt Krenz, thank you very much. Ignoring their weirdo night, but I'd pay good money for a Diana and Sirius adventure and possible romance. Why can't these be romantic? Is that too much to ask? Is it too much to ask for some romance? Ozzy Dragoon, thank you very much. Soon Manno will be on the shore of Paradise Island singing about Steve. He better not come on the shore of Paradise Island. He'll ruin their island. He should go bother him at work, just like how everybody bothers Diana. Somehow he'll hop over onto the edge of his plane, get his thing out. I don't think Steve would appreciate. So she's down to run off and marry this knight because he's hot, and so we're doing it. But then Manno and Steve notice that she just gets sucked up into the spacecraft, and they decide that that's the part that's weird. That craft's blasting off and Wonder Woman's still inside. I've known Wonder Woman ever since we were kids, Humble Flex brag. She'd never just leave like that without telling her mother about it. Steve, something's wrong. But how can we follow them? In the ship that brought me here, Wonder Woman's plane. Come on, I've flown it before. He's holding his hand. He's holding his hand. You all see it. He's holding it. They're running to this plane. He's holding his hand. If he turns around and one of them was holding a phone, it'd be one of those videos where they're being led by the hand across a beach. I'm telling you. Come on. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. You all see it. Also, I guess he's just hoping that he'll hop faster. This looks so painful for Manno. It's not a good time to be a merman on land in this issue. Oh. So now we get the reveal that we had from the cover, which it was a bit too obvious with a spoiler. This kind of would have been a bit of a fun reveal, even though he was obviously an alien, but we wouldn't have known that he was an Amoeba Man. So, why was Amoeba Man trying to take out the Amazons? Remember that was a thing? He said he was going to get there and have his vengeance and all of that. It's not really quite clear. It's just kind of happening. There's an invasion force, and they want to take down the Amazons first. That's kind of what we've got going. There's a whole fleet of these amoeba things. And they decided that the best plan was to seduce Wonder Woman. I guess they were reading the comics of this era and they're like, that's the only plan that's going to work, right? K Booty, thank you very much. Casually Comics is the best comics YouTuber out there. That's very sweet. I don't think it's true, but I appreciate the sentiment. Oh, they're in space. I don't know why he brought Manno into space. Like, I don't see what Manno was supposed to contribute to this journey aside from being it's one of those stories where it's like, well, he was a character the entire time, so I guess he has to come. It reminds me of one of those, what was that story? It's from the Hard Traveling Heroes era where Green Arrow gets bent out of shape, that Hal's going on a space adventure and doesn't want to bring him. He's like, how dare you? A real friend would bring me to space. And like, you can't contribute. This is not a mission you can contribute to. Such an odd thing to get mad about. For some reason, Amoeba Man yells all the time. He's got this "aye" thing at the end of his dialogue. I guess it's supposed to be alien. Oh, she's a hostage now. You see, the thing is, it might sound not credible, but the Amazons at this point are incredibly technologically advanced. And so they could have dealt with this army. They could have just shot. You saw all of the editing software that Hippolyta had. They had other tech as well. Oh, are they pretending they love her? Sorry, I'm very salty about this. But how can we make the first move, which will doom her? The girl we both love. Wonder Woman. Wonder Girl is another character, or will be because of all this hot mess. So Wonder Woman says that if anybody who hears her loves her, they'll stop the invaders. And I think that's also to her mom. Like, somebody do something. Save. See, I thought he called him Stevie for a minute. It's just the exclamation mark. It's full speed ahead, Steve. I thought he called him Stevie. That would have been too much. There's no way that would have made it past the censors. So Steve and Manno get to be big damn heroes and take out the ship by crashing into it, He-Man style. Cause why not? Imagine how this would have played if this hadn't been a toxic romance issue and if they had just been doing regular things and they got to have this big heroic moment at the end to help her out. That would have been cool. That would have been nice. These panels are really cool of the ship crashing into the earth and stuff. That's fun. I like that a lot. Michael Brown, thank you very much. If only they had Birdman, it would be over in a minute. Then they'd have to fight in the air. Then we get that other contest. Lane Kramer, romance in comics is weird. Heck, Green Arrow just said he letting Dana go live her own life. Are you really with them if you're not around? I like that romance is always a hot mess in these comics. My cat's trying to get in. He has things to say. Maybe he'll prove he's the best cat man for Wonder Woman. I don't know. Because I'm bored. Thank you very much. Is Manno still a thing in modern comics? No. Sometimes you'll get references here and there, but like we don't like Manno. He's not actively around. At least I haven't seen him. Maybe he's back. Maybe Tom King's gonna be like, you know what? My run that's all of these political allegories and stuff needs Manno, the Merman. Let's do it. Hold on, Steve. They're bonding. They're bonding. We need to see their bonding. Therese, thank you very much. Not gonna lie, if those two are the options, make mine Amoeba. He's trying to take over the earth. I mean, yeah, the others are pretty awful, but we gotta save the earth. We live here, so. Beholds Monkey, thank you very much. Merman or Aquaman in 90s JLA? Which undersea denizens was more thirsty for Diana? I think you're just more thirsty in the Silver Age by default, even though the 90s is thirsty in other ways. Ironically, the Amazon plane becomes a tomb for the two locked in. That's not ironic. Controls are jammed from the crash. Can't escape. Will last until air gives out. Glad to have known you. Merman. Same here, Steve. If I had to lose Wonder Woman to a better man, I'd vote for you. Screw that night. No. I'm glad they bonded and had a good time. Can they go out for drinks or something and become friends or whatever, and we'll let Wonder Woman actually do Wonder Woman things? She's going to save them. Steve, there's the answer. Whichever one she chooses to rescue first, you or me, is the one she loves. Stop making her doing her job about you. Stop it. See, it took me to the next. Oh, I'm gasping even though I've read it before just because it's so awful. I forgot how awful it was, which is that they pretend to be unconscious. So they don't even try and help her out as she's coming to save them, just to see if they can figure out which one she'll save first, even though that doesn't. It's fine. It's fine. She saves them both at the same time, by the way, because of course she does. She loves me. No, she doesn't. She loves me. Choose between us. Choose. Which one? Which one? You're both so wonderful. How can I? I don't think I was supposed to read that sarcastically. I think that's supposed to be genuine. Like, you're both so wonderful. I can't do it. I can't not make it sarcastic. Hold on. Not sarcastic. Make it not sarcastic. Love. She loves them. You're both so wonderful. How can I? I can't. It's too ridiculous. But sooner or later, Wonder Woman will have to choose between her two ardent suitors. When, how, and where will that be? Time will tell, except it won't, because I'm going to erase Manno out of existence because people don't like him. The end. How romantic. Are you in the mood for love? Are you ready to go get your Valentines or whatever? I guess their friendship's over and the whole better man thing is done because choose between us, choose. She still chooses Amoeba Man. How amazing would that be? Oh, love. That's what love is. This issue. I'm so entertained. Common Sense, thank you very much. Which Golden Age Wonder Woman villain would you want to see revamped? For me, it's Hipponta. Her impersonate as Wonder Woman in Future State offers potential. Golden Age. Who would I want? A lot of her Golden Age people ended up coming back. So I kind of miss some of the vibes of the Golden Age. Like Edda's all a secret agent now and things like that. I kind of miss when she had a wider variety of different side civilian characters, if that makes any sense. Oh, James Analek, you gifted a membership. That's so nice. Thank you. Aussie Dragoon, thank you very much. Manno would have saved Wonder Woman 84 and the DCEU. Can you imagine if Wonder Woman 84 had pulled more from this era? Because it pulled a decent amount with some of like the things used with her lasso, like capturing lightning and all those kind of things. But this is what the people need. Jared Madness, Kane Law, thank you very much. Can you please review Landor, Maker of Monsters? I'm not sure. I have a lot of things that I am currently working on. I'm so glad that I got to look at this live with all of you. I know it's a little awkward because I don't normally do this with the Kindle thing, but I think if we do it more often, what do you think? I think it's kind of fun to look through them like this as they are, except for the panels that are missing, but as they are for the most part. And I guess we can ask the question now. Oh, first, Mechasaurus, thank you very much. Your cat would be a better suitor for Wonder Woman than these two numbnuts. There's a whole thing about how Steve Trevor is boring. He has a personality during this era, at least this time period in the early 60s. It's just not very good. But it's just not great. Oh, my goodness. The Kindle experience. It's a bit rough. Gotta go back to the cover so we can experience them. Nobody wins. Did we win or did we lose? I don't know. Who won this? Are we the winners for having experienced this? I'm so much more uncomfortable with Amoeba Man's. Like, they're trying to rip her apart. Maybe Amoeba Man's hands to be on her neck because that could be foreshadowing for how he was trying to kill her and all of the Amazons. He didn't even have to try very hard. He just had to show up and be handsome. It's so disappointing. So I guess the question would be, Steve or Manno, because choose, as they said, you have to pick one. Which one? It still doesn't feel like it's about her. Best panel. It's the best panel. Them holding hands as they race to rescue. Oh, is that the father of the Amoeba Boys? Powerpuff Girls reference. Single life. Oh, none of the Pegasus, none of the above. No, remember? Hold on. We're going to go back to it just because it makes me laugh so much. Choose between us. Choose. He's screaming in her face. Look at this. But she knew him since they were young, and that means they're good friends. Remember how at the start of this, she said that they were out of control and she couldn't deal with it? Leave them on this island. It already showed that they just stayed there. Maybe they can't leave. If you take the plane, maybe they'll just be marooned there and they'll have to work out their issues. Steve's already proven that he doesn't feel he needs to do any work. He's just jumping off of buildings to go and do this. Merman also wasn't doing anything. He was just singing songs and annoying people. Where did the Pegasus go? The Pegasus was the friend we made along the way. Mechasaurus, thank you very much. When Manno and Steve fight over Wonder Woman, everyone loses. We can only make this worse by adding Birdman. And this, believe it or not, this one's actually up there for me because it's funny to me because there are so many amusing panels, the judo gorilla fight, just Merman hopping on land. There is lots of little things from that standpoint to enjoy, although of course I can see how one would find this extremely irritating because of the depiction, just how, for lack of a better word, because it's overused but toxic everybody is. But this one was honestly more fun than some of the other ones I read with Wonder Girl and Merboy and Bird Boy. The one I briefly highlighted where you see Bird Boy's home of the Cloud City of bird cages. That one, they treat her so awfully in that one, and the story treats it like it's cute. This one doesn't seem to be treating it like it's cute. It's sometimes these stories read to me almost like they're making fun of romance tropes. I'm not sure if that's purposeful or just because of how hard they're leading into what they assume romance tropes are. Because if you remember from those panels that we showed in the Wonder Tot video again with Robert Kanigher writing himself in, a lot of it was tongue-in-cheek. There was a whole section about him wearing a yellow bow tie, and there were questions as to whether he ever wore one. You never actually get to see whether he wears one or not. There's lots of little things like that. So I wouldn't put it past them to be like, ugh, romance and writing it like this, but I can't tell. All that's hearsay. It's really hard to find interviews about Kanigher's Wonder Woman stuff. And you find so much more about the Sergeant Rock era and those things. That's understandable because those are better written than a lot of these. But some of these just random tangents that they go on, not this one, but like the Human Centipede and the Glop, even though the Glop managed to make it onto the page to be written off, even though he was in one issue, they're interesting. It's a fascinating era. And the Omnis have come out recent-ish time of recording. I hope lots of these I have on Kindle, but I'll rebuy them when I get the Omni. I hope that those panels that we're missing are back. It bothers me. Probably shouldn't, but it does. I get all like the erasure of history, even though it's probably just a mistake. It's fine. Was it primarily boys reading Wonder Woman at this time? That's a good question. Because you did have strong female readership and things like Lois Lane. But they say that during this time, from what I've been able to research, I'm going to go Dorothy Ann. According to my research, it wasn't doing that well at this time. They actually say that Wonder Girl and Wonder Tot were pulling in a lot of readers and buyers, and that's why they tried to incorporate all of them because people were enjoying that. And then Bob Haney just ran off and kind of sort of paid attention to Cannon and wrote what he wanted because that's how he rolled. And then Kanigher didn't bother to cross-check or correct him, and it was just chaos. So chaos. But now we have Donna Troy. Yay. Glop solo series. This, I know that I guess I'll throw it to you. Hold on. I guess I will throw it to you. Let me just put myself back because we've looked at that for long enough and pull up my stuff. But This era really bothers some people. They don't find things to enjoy in it. There are some elements that I think are interesting, and some of the things that were pulled forward just in terms of how far reaching and stuff her adventures could be. But I know for some people this era is just like throw it in the trash. So I guess where are you on that? You know, I don't feel that anything should be in the trash. That's just me. Mm. Therese, thank you very much. I got the Mod Wonder Woman trades only because of you. Thanks. Did you enjoy them? Mod Wonder Woman is a fascinating time. I got some comments on the Wonder Top video that were going on about how this made them want Mod Wonder Woman. Is that how you feel after seeing how Steve and Manno and Amoeba Man carry on? Does it make you want Mod Wonder Woman? Does it make you glad for the death of Steve? Books versus movies says I find your recaps more fun than actually reading this era. I have so much fun reading these. If you enjoyed doing this live, and I'm sure as I said before, we'll get smoother. There are some other ones that we could spotlight and showcase because on their own they might not make for, the algorithm wants what it wants, but it is very fun to go over them live, and it would be a way to be able to be live more often and just chat about these comics. Sometimes I read these things and I just want to I just want to talk about them because who else am I going to talk about? Manno versus Steve and all of the was I the only one who read like unintentional vibes into that story? It's totally not intentional. And just all the little errors that I enjoy, like Manno's head not being in that thought bubble. Or the knight's helmet just popping on and off panel, so with just surprise hair, all of those things. Therese, thank you very much. This era makes me appreciate Mod Wonder Woman, to be honest. You see, that's what's so fascinating about reading through the era in order. You can kind of see how they evolve and where people are coming from. It's far different than when you just cherry pick one or two and look at them that way, because there's a whole evolution to Wonder Woman and she changes so much, and there are so many different pressures placed upon her that aren't placed onto other heroes. So she's very fascinating to discuss from that standpoint. I think I have a controversial statement to make. Even though I would argue that, for example, lots of the modern Wonder Woman runs, like for let's just use Tom King because it's the most recent, are better written. Sometimes I have a lot more fun with these. I don't know if that's just, I'm sure this was very annoying to read at the time, but it's just, I don't know. I'm enjoying this the off the railsness of it, even though it is a bit of a mess and the men are disasters and don't do it. And just the way that her romance is handled does not suit her character at all. Not that Wonder Woman can't have romance, but just the type of copy paste romance that they're trying to put into it does not work for her. Keep this in the lowest lane comics where they know how to write a back and forth of just people manipulating the heck out of each other, which was pretty much all that comic was. But they matched because they were such manipulative disasters in that series. If because you've probably, if you've been here a while, you've seen those stories and you've seen these stories. You can tell that even though they're trying to do the same thing, they have a different vibe. They have a different vibe. They really do. I know I'm canceled for so many things. Oh. Hmm. That's an interesting statement. Hold on, I'm gonna throw it up. I do miss that comics can't really go off the rails anymore. Do you So let's throw that out there. I'm curious about it. Do we feel that comics can't go off the rails anymore? If they can't, I do believe that that has a bit to do with I'm gonna say general us, like not us like personally, but I mean more like fandom us, because it's the way that feedback is processed is so different and so quick, and it's so easy to be so reactionary, both from a creator and fan standpoint, that it does change the way that people feel they can implement stories. And there's a lot of very quick jumping on things these days that can make it difficult to let a story unfold or do something a bit more wacky. So I would say that things in general tend, in my opinion, to be a bit more reactionary than they should be at times. And there's also often lots of details missing, which annoys me, as you can tell by my whole like, where's the panels? Where are those 4 panels? Someone commented and said they used to do work with transferring those files, and it was probably a mistake, and they're probably right. But I'm like, no, ah. mm, let's see. Me hold on. I'm juggling between screens. That's why I'm like, hold on. Books versus movie says, I think the comics that try to be Silver Age silly now don't work. I.e. Matt Fraction on Jimmy Olsen. I think that's actually one of the better ones, to be honest, in terms of trying, because at least it clearly enjoys that era, which I think is important. But in general, I will say that I don't think it works, because a lot of times you can't really capture the same feeling of that era, because all of the pressures and the history and the context of what led to it aren't present anymore. So some of the genuineness or subversions or just cultural mores, they don't come through because they aren't there. So it often doesn't come across with the same type of energy as those stories have. There are people who are better at approximating it than others, but rarely does it have the same feeling. And off time, I think one of the best things I ever saw approximated actually is Batman Brave and the Bold. I think that is the closest I've seen, even though that's not another comic adaptation. But I think that's the closest I've seen come to capturing that vibe. And it's because it also takes it and pulls in other things and does its own thing with that. And in that way, it makes it feel more genuine, because it's not just trying to be a straight up recreation. And in that way, it actually achieves more of the energy of the time. I think I'm making sense. It's late, but I think that makes sense. I made too much juice and I don't know what to do with it. I realized after this, the one with caffeine in it, and it's 11 o'clock at night. So that's terrible. That's bad. That's as bad as Lex Luthor stealing 40 cakes. That's terrible. Oh, Grant Morrison's Green Lantern. I have thoughts and feelings. But you know what? You know what? No, I'll give it it tried to do something, it tried to do something different, and that at least makes it stand out, unlike the current era. D-Man the Captain asks, are there any more Wonder Woman videos in the works? I'm thinking. Not really. There's a kind of Teen Titans-y thing that I am currently going to next. And then hopefully, I can finally get that Clayface who was Jason Todd video out there, which is Johnny Williams. It's literally been years. So hopefully we can do that. Alci's right. Thank you very much. Hey, long time no see. Glad to be part of this chat. It has been a while. How are you? I hope you're good. I hope that you were able to catch up on the madness that is Silver Age Wonder Woman romance, which just hits different than other romance. So I have to ask, What was our favorite part? Yes, a favorite part. What was our favorite part of of this experience right here? What did we take from this? If there was something to take from it, what would we take from it? I don't know. I guess that the friends we made along the way, something. Hops. The ending of the nightmare. Yeah. Ooh, hold on. Matthew Foster. Will you ever do a video on the Batman's version of Spellbinder? I have done a lot of Spellbinder videos, haven't I? Now that I'm doing the Batman episodes, it becomes more likely. I like to do ones that have that tie in to comics in some way, which is kind of why my episode selection is a bit random. Also, I was so sad that remember that clip from where Ten-Eyed Man catches the cactus? That happened in the comics, and I even used it in the video I did in Ten-Eyed Man, and I forgot to mention it in the video, and I'm so sad. So I definitely need to do the Brave and the Bold video so that I can mention it at some point because the world needs to know, and we need to put those scenes in the panel side by side because that's what it's all about or something. I don't know. Oh. Yes, Amoeba Man forever. It was so random. It was so they could have, they really could have infiltrated with those great shape-shifting abilities that they had, but they just sent one down to be a handsome knight. What if it hadn't worked? What if she was like, "No, actually, I want to live under the sea. I want to be where the fish are. We're going to reverse Little Mermaid this." Would he have just had to go home? What was the backup plan? Why didn't he just land on the island? Whenever they have like we're gonna take out the Amazons and they happen to be male, I'm like, just go jump on the island. That's it. The gods aren't very understanding about accidents that happen. That was why in that whole story where Wonder Girl was letting that guy think that she was his daughter, they wanted to do a show and they wanted the Amazons to see it. So they had to do it on like an adjacent island and do all kinds of high wire shenanigans to make sure that he didn't set foot on the island. It was a whole thing. That was an interesting backup. Manno versus Lori. Lori wins. Come on. That's not a fair fight. That's like Manno versus Namor or Manno versus Aquaman. Manno is hard to say the more you say it also. Do we like Manno better or Rano, even though at one point they were the same person? Oh, what a mess the continuity is from this era. As a person who cares about continuity, I find it fascinating. There are still stories that people argue about whether they happen on Earth 1 or Earth 2 because of how all of this went down. Argue. Is it arguing? It's probably arguing. Nerdy arguing. I don't know. Dylan the villain says, even Batman had a mermaid love interest. What is it with DC heroes hooking up with mermaids? It's fantasy. It's the mermaid the merman fantasy, the mer person fantasy. Who hasn't wanted to be I can't say I don't know, some people are really into the whole mermaid thing. There are professional mermaids. I watched that whole documentary on it. That was interesting. They talked a bit about how like chiefy it gets inside the tail and like how you get all pruny and weird, and that's all I was thinking about the entire time. She was the real catch. They didn't make that joke. They made the prize statement. She was a prize to be won, except the contest didn't make any sense, and she was Earthman. What's she gonna do with you? Eat dirt? Why does Manno think that they eat dirt? He knows that they don't. It's just so many questions. If I had made this a regular video, it would have been like 40 minutes long, and it didn't need to be. What's a professional mermaid? Jabberwocky. It's a person who goes to parties and stuff, and they wear a mer tail, and they perform in shows, and they swim in tanks, and they have conventions, and they pretend to be mer people. It's like LARPing, but for being a mermaid. Yes. I'm more confused about the whole Birdman thing because they go very aggressively bird with it. And I'm not sure why or what they think is appealing about it. He's also, if you think that Manno is a jerk, Bird Boy. Bird Boy is so much worse. It's usually Bird Boy and Merboy, and Merboy's okay, even though he's really horrendously jealous and has all these fears about Wonder Girl leaving him for literally any other male in existence. Mermite is pretty. Mermite's a bit disturbing because they're supposed to be toddlers, and so when Mermite shows them, it's like, "I'm gonna marry you, me, Mermite." It's like, please stop, please, please, we don't want it. Nobody wants it. Let little Wonder Tot have her fun adventures with her genie friend and the other things that she was doing, because those adventures were cute. I like the ones with her and the genie. There were a couple. Yeah, Tully Television. I guess they were trying to make it interesting. She had a love interest in the sea, land, and air. They were trying to make it unique. That is a thing about this period, that because he jettisons so much of her past supports and the like, they are trying to fill those gaps in with the new characters, as he says in that panel I showed in the One Trot video, his brain children. It's so frustrating because, like, the characters he named, like, so many of them are good. Like, Golden Age Harlequin, it's really interesting. Black Canary, like, she's great. Star Sapphire, Golden Age, less so. I wouldn't have put her on the list, but the first two, very solid. Jerez, thank you very much. I'll be on a panel about Canon this Friday at Gallifrey 1. You've given me lots to think about. Thank you for your wonderful work. Oh, have a good time. That sounds like a good time. I'm assuming, based on the name, that that's going to have some Doctor Who canon to discuss. That sounds like a good time. I know that that has become quite the kerfuffle, so that should be interesting to discuss. It's been ages since I've been to a con. I can't do it. Hell is other people. I like talking to people like this. This is good. I like it. It's fun. I really do. I've come to enjoy streaming. Like, of all the new things, even though streaming's not new, just like shorts aren't new, of the things that YouTube wants me to do, of like of the other platforms it's competing with, I like streaming. I do enjoy the streaming. Like, I used to stream games back in the day, and that was fun too. Who's saying neck snap? We're not snapping Merman's neck. We can snap his tail. We gotta vary it up. Come on. Let's make it interesting. We can do the Bane snap on Merman while he's on land. Oh. I know. I see you, Danny Katz retrospect. It's funny. I was rereading some of that a few years back, but I need to reread it again. It's one of those things where it's like, it's been too long now. I need to put it back in my head again. Oh. What a time. What a time to be romantic. Michael Brown, thank you very much. Every time I hear Birdman's name, I keep shouting it like the intro from the Birdman cartoon. I do that too. I loved the Birdman cartoon. And the thing is that Birdman doesn't have much of a personality in these stories, so I keep filling it in with Harvey Birdman's, and it just makes it so much funnier because he's also a disaster, so it kind of fits in to these stories. It kind of works. I also wouldn't want him to marry Wonder Woman, but I can see it happening in one of those episodes. So, it's all working together. I love Birdman. I quote that show with my husband all the time. Like, did you get that thing I sent you? They're like, woo, from the one judge, or Reducto. Reducto's amazing. Oh, you think of Michael Keaton's Birdman? That movie, I love Birdman. That movie's really good. That movie is very meta and fun. The letters from this era are also very interesting. It is nice when you see them publish one of the actual ones to Kanigher and not just the ones that are written to the club that are, I'm going to grow up and marry Wonder Woman just like Steve. I wanted to read that letter, but it didn't fit anywhere. There was a letter that I found that was like a little boy writing in saying that one day I'm going to grow up and marry Wonder Woman just like Steve. And I'm like, you don't want to be like Steve. No, at least he didn't say like Manno. So there's that. That's better at least. At least he picked Steve, the better of the two options. I don't know. Steve has a lot of issues during this time period. Common sense. Thank you very much. Queen Clea is also an Atlantean / mermaid. They're everywhere. They're taking over. It's a whole subgenre. See, this is what the people wanted. It wasn't just gorillas. It was also mermaids. I was genuinely a little excited when the gorilla appeared out of nowhere and he judoed it. It was just so ridiculous. He's like, it's a good thing because what was his plan? Because he just ran into the forest. I don't know how he was planning on proving it otherwise. He was just looking for something to happen to prove that he's the better man on land. They had no plan. I like that they didn't even plan this contest out. They was like, oh no, they agreed to it. I get quick to the sea. Quick to the forest. Oh, thank goodness. A gorilla I can fight. The fact that he won that fight is also, that is a little impressive. Not for the reasons that he thinks, but just in general. Not that she should marry him because of it, but it is a little bit impressive. Anyway, it is getting on. It is 11:16, so it's a bit late. But I really enjoyed doing this with all of you. There will, of course, be more videos coming soon. And if you have any suggestions, actually, for issues that you think this would be fun to do this with, and not just the, I'm thinking about that bird boy, merboy issue. It might happen. But let me know because it's fun to go through them live, even if Kindle's a bit finicky, but it works. It works for what it needs to. So thank you so much for taking some time to do it live. And there's more videos, of course, coming soon. And I will see you there when we get to them. Let me remember which one I'm supposed to end the stream on. I can do this. I'm a professional. All right. See y'all again soon. Bye-bye.